Well, welcome to another episode of the Data Dialogues podcast. Today, we'll be discussing 8 amusingly bizarre tales from the first modern Olympics. And I am your host, Larisa Bedgood, head of marketing here at PGM. And with me today, I have Kym Vance, who is head of business development. Hey, Kim, how are you doing?
Hello, Larissa.
Excited to do this. I always love doing a good podcast episode with you. So this one is about the Olympics. And when you think of the Olympics, you might picture huge arenas, really elite athletes, hopefully breaking records, and an entire world tuning in. But the first modern Olympics back in 1896 was a little less glamorous, as you could imagine. There were only 14 countries actually that competed at the time. There were no professional athletes and only 9 sports. So, of course, speaking of world-class performance, this is a great tie-in for PGM, like how I did that there. So at PGM, we help brands get to gold with smarter audience data. And we can tell you from who they are, how they live, what they're ready to buy. We combine multiple types of data, such as demographics, lifestyle, property, mover data, auto, shopping intent, so that your message really can reach the right audience based on who they are and how they're behaving at just the right time. But with the Winter Olympics now, or coming up in Italy, we're rewinding to where it all began, the weird and wildly unpolished start of the first modern Olympic Games. So with that, let's dive in. So do you want to kick us off, Kim, at number 8?
Yes, my favorite, the participation medals.
My goodness.
Yeah. So obviously today in the Olympics, bronze means you're literally the 3rd best in the world. But back in 1896, it basically meant you showed up. So funny how everything old is new again. At the first modern Olympics, they handed out bronze participation medals to every person who competed. At the time, it was only men. Women were not allowed to compete then. And winners got silver and second place got copper. So
interesting. Very interesting.
So it was not until 1904 that we see the standard that we have today, gold, silver, and bronze. So next time you see somebody bite that medal, just remember, now they earned it.
So at number 7 is Australia's team entered by accident, and somebody punched a spectator. So let's see what this is about. Yeah, fun. So today's Olympic athletes obviously spend years training, I'm sure a long time training for their chance to win at a medal. But back in 1896, not quite as much. Back then, anyone could pretty much just show up and compete. And probably that's why they had participation medals. But in this instance, Australia's entire team was actually just one guy by the name of Edwin Flack. And he was in England, heard about the Olympics, hopped on a boat to Athens, and once he got there, just decided to sign up. I mean, why not? He raced in the 100 and 1500 meter dash, actually won both of those, and even joined a tennis doubles match just for fun. That is crazy when you consider what athletes do today.
That's the definition of all around, for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Back then, why not? He entered actually the first ever marathon as well, except he'd never run distance in his life. I mean, again, I guess. So halfway through, it was very, very hot. It was a summer day, and his energy completely crashed. And a kind person in the audience, a spectator, tried to help him up, but he was, I guess, totally delirious from the heat at this point, and he just punched the guy in the face. So that, my friends, is how the first Aussie Olympian made history.
Probably where they coined "no good deed goes unpunished" too.
But there you go. Exactly. It's just so funny to think, like, you know, back then, just entering just because. I mean, if I entered just because one event, I would be tired for days after that. But he did like 4 events.
Crazy. Okay, so we're on number 6. And I found this one kind of funny that the winner of the discus competition had no idea what a discus was.
That's great.
So yeah, as we've mentioned, people did not train for this. And Robert Garrett is another who really walked in not knowing what he was doing. So he signed up for the discus throw because no one else from Team USA wanted to. Except, like I said, didn't know what it was, much less know how to throw one. So he did what one does. He got a blacksmith to make him one. Not really sure how the blacksmith would know what it was either. So the blacksmith forged a massive iron disc that weighed about 30 pounds for him, and he trained with it, thinking it's just how it worked. Just as a frame of reference, a standard competition discus weighs 2 kilograms, or for those in the US, 4.4 pounds. And he was training with a 30-pound disc.
That is insane.
When he finally arrives in Athens, he sees the Greek team tossing these really light, sleek discs. And he competes anyway. His first 2 throws were disasters, with one nearly hitting the crowd. But on his last try, nailed it. And he won gold. And they said one of his teammates was quoted as saying, "No one was more surprised than he was."
I would assume so.
You would think if he was throwing 30-pounders, by the time he throws a 4-pounder, it's not surprising that he would have won.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, he could like throw that quite a distance. Okay, so at number 5, the marathon winner's life was like a Disney movie. So let's hear what this one is about. The guy's name was Spiros Louise, and he is a hero in Greece. His face is actually even on one of their coins. So before the Olympics, he was just a poor donkey driver helping his dad deliver mineral water around Athens. He didn't have any training. It seems like, again, that's pretty much the case of everybody. Certainly no sponsors, but he did like to run. And he entered the marathon and finished in first place, just under 3 hours. The crowd went crazy. You know, Greece had its first hometown champion. And the best part was that halfway through the race, he actually ran past his uncle's tavern, decided to stop in, and had a glass of wine. And then he told everyone he was going to win and went back out and did exactly that. So that, my friends, is how you do it in style. And I could see this being a Disney movie. I mean, it might be already.
Not that I would run a marathon, but stopping at a tavern in midway through might be fun.
That might be, yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, what do we have?
So let's see. At number 4, it says, a local woman gate crashed the marathon. Maybe. So remember, only men were allowed to compete in 1896. But as most women know, who follows the rules? So according to reports, a woman named Melpomene decided to crash the marathon in protest. Some stories say she ran alongside the men, but was stopped at the stadium gates and did her victory lap outside. Other stories say she ran her own marathon and spent years trying to get it recognized by the Olympic Committee. And then there are others that say the records are so spotty that it's not even sure if she really existed. So could be a folktale. She might have been confused with another woman, Stamata Ravithi, who also ran the course in about 5.5 hours. But either way, somebody did it, a woman, and that someone made history, whether the Olympic organizers like it or not.
Woohoo! I love that one. So if we go, so this was the marathon. So what was it? Yeah.
That was our friend
God.
Spiros over there.
Yeah, yeah. So Spiros, he ran it. I think his was, I don't know. I think his said it was like a couple hours, but obviously, it was spotty records back then. All right. So at number three, it's called the U.S. team accidentally covered a king in orange peel. So in 2012, the London Olympics kicked off with the Queen skydiving alongside James Bond. Yeah, I don't remember. I'll have to go look at that.
Yes.
Okay, obviously this one was totally staged, and these days royals mostly just wave and smile from the stands. But back in 1896, it was a different story. So during the first modern Olympics in Greece, the royal family actually hung out with the US team, and things were going great until someone decided to teach them baseball. The Americans grabbed a walking stick for a bat and an orange for a ball, and they handed the so-called bat to the future King Constantine, pitched the orange, and it exploded, I guess, all over him. So there was obviously juice and orange peel everywhere, all over his formal royal uniform. And turns out the crown prince had a very good spirit. He was a good sport about it all, laughed the whole thing off. But it did mark the end of any attempts to bring baseball into the fold of Greek national sports.
Okay, now that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like that one too. All right.
Okay. So number two is, if you remember, it started out with only 9 sports, which led to a rash of ridiculous quote unquote sports in future games. Today's Olympics has 28 sports and more than 300 events, significantly more than the 9 it started out with. Baron de Coubertin, the guy behind the modern games, decided 9 was not nearly enough. So over the next few Olympics, they started adding, let's call them questionable sports. So the 1900 games featured events like firefighting and kite flying. Oh, I could do good at that one. Later on, they gave out actual medals for sculpture, painting, architecture, and even poetry. So the arts made an entry into the Olympics. And at one point, yes, you could win an Olympic medal for writing a poem. So, Larissa, that might have to be our challenge tonight, write an Olympic level poem.
Even if it's a participation medal.
Yes. So here's the really funny part. The very first poetry medal went to none other than Baron de Coubertin himself. And what was his masterpiece called? Ode to Sport.
I feel like I could do that.
Yeah. Well, considering he was also the Olympic Committee, you gotta love a man confident enough to give himself a medal.
Exactly. Yeah, I still am laughing about the participation medals. That's good. All right. So coming in at number 1, it wasn't even the first modern Olympics. Okay, so we're going back to Baron de Coubertin. That was a tongue twister. And so he was as we mentioned, the father of the modern Olympics. And he actually might have also been a bit of a thief. So decades before his supposedly first Olympics in 1896, a small English town called Wenlock had already been running its own Olympic Games. That started in 1850. So there were track races, cycling, and they even had jousting. De Coubertin visited Wenlock in 1890, saw their local games, and took the idea global. So the first modern Olympics was based on this town in Wenlock. And de Coubertin, being a marketer, as is PGM, we're marketers, he rebranded it, called it the Olympics, and the rest, of course, is history. Wenlock's vision was, or their version was a little bit smaller. It was just the locals, held once a year. But the spark began there for sure. Without it, there might never have been any modern day Olympics. Think of the opening ceremony or even a single gold medal moment. So it turns out the first modern Olympics began not in Athens, but in a quiet English town called Wenlock. All right. I love it. So with that, that was a fun trip back to our first modern Olympics. And I love, like, as we talked about, Kim, how the Olympics or the athletes could just show up without any training, and somebody who I can't remember the guy's name that just stopped for a glass of wine in the middle of the marathon.
Spiros. I'm never going to forget
Spiros. Yes, he's the Disney movie that has yet to be produced. And of course, at PTM, just as a reminder, we bring the same passion for performance, minus the chaos and the flying oranges. We do a lot of things around data, and of course, we do have sports data. We have a lot of data-driven insights into consumers to give you really a good picture of who today's consumers are. We combine multiple details with demographics, lifestyle insights, a rich catalog of property data and automotive data. And so whether your goal is awareness, engagement, or conversion, we'll help you win that goal. So thank you all for joining us for this episode of Data Dialogues. Stay curious, stay data-driven, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you all.